are we all going to do this? Because Tommy can, put you on television if you want to be, and has shows, and then I do shows. But Ronnie's here to participate, but I don't know that how we can do this with you two, because you two are collegiate academics and real intelligent. Been doing this for probably, I know Jan's been doing it for many, many years, and apparently you have too, Dr. Bruce. And Dr. Maccabee told us we could do ACO as Alien Contact Org. So I guess we need to set up like our own Hynek. Do we want to use CE5 and then add to it? So can we discuss how you two are going to do, Ronnie?
TJ, Ronnie seems to be one of the newest members. I mean, I've been out in the field observing craft with Tommy in New York way back in 1996. So we go back at least that far together. And I'm interested in what Ronnie has brought forth by his book. I have not gotten his book yet. I only found out about it today. And I'd love to have him explain what happened to him and how he says in the abstract of his book that activity has been continuing from 2010 on. And I believe his book came out in 2016. And I would like to know more about that, because that brings us up to a current level of activity. And Tommy has been saying that a lot of sightings have been occurring in Hawaii, and get a little bit more information on that too. Okay? Hello?
Sounds good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Ronnie?
Okay, yeah.
Is that you?
I dumped my Wi-Fi, and I'm going through my cell phone now, hoping to get a better signal. Yeah, this is Ronnie Dawson.
Yes, Ronnie. I would love to hear more about your story, about your book, and might help improve your sales. So you said that you were in the oil business at the time?
Yes, I'm a crude oil transport driver, and like I said, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything for 30 years out there. And in 2009, I started seeing some stuff, and it just kept getting weirder. And I started seeing the UFO craft, and I've got some pictures of it. And I had a UFO mothership fly over me. I got a 15-second video clip of the left half of a V-shaped mothership that flew right over the top of my head.
Wow!
And I mean, I seen this thing up close and personal. It was just outside Coleman, Texas.
Coleman, Texas. Yes.
Yeah.
My background is in the oil business too, from '77 all the way up into around 2000. And I was abducted in front of my entire drill crew down in Virginia in 1981, and I have a whole website on that abduction. I was found missing by my drill crew, and then they saw me being returned. That was my first indication that something very strange was going on, because they had given me screen memories, and I had no idea that I was actually taken aboard their ship. Have you experienced an abduction?
I've got to say this real quick, because, folks, I want you to hear this. What does oil have to do with Project 1947, Jan Aldrich, and Dr. Bruce? But I just found out recently on Jan's show on Tuesdays that I was talking about in Oklahoma, and these ETs were talking to each other, and it was on an oil site. So I'm starting to wonder about this oil stuff, but I'm going to go back on mute. But Tommy, you're being really good, because Tommy and I can talk for 2 hours easy. But just occasionally let Tommy make a comment, Bruce. But I'm going to go back on mute. But there's something about ESP and me in Oklahoma and oil, just like with you guys. But my story can come way later. So I'm going to go back on mute.
Okay. Okay, Ronnie. Did you hear my question? Yeah. Have you been abducted?
I have the way it was an abduction, but it was a non-typical abduction. They grabbed my living spirit or essence or whatever, life essence or whatever it is, and they pulled me out of my sleeping body for a conversation. And my wife walked through the bedroom several times during this conversation. And I asked them show me how they got here, because I'd always heard if you ever get a chance to talk to them, ask them how they got here. And I asked them how they got here, and I asked them if they could show me. And they instructed me to walk through the wall. And when I did, I fell into outer space right off of one of their planets in a solar system, God only knows where. And you could see it was close to a galactic center, because I could see a black hole with all the stars being sucked into it in their sky. And their sky looks a lot like ours. Their planet looked smaller than ours. It had a quick rotation, had 3 major continents, thin oceans. I mean, I was in outer space looking at this thing. And when I look back at where I came from, it was a black box. It's the same. You've seen the U.S. military jet that filmed the gun camera filmed the black box flying by it. I've been in one of those. That's a Stargate. That's what the ET uses to get here. And they said, and not only is it a Stargate, it's a biocontainment mechanism. It keeps from contaminating our world and our world from contaminating theirs. And that's what they told me. And you seen it fly right by the jet. I think it's off the coast of Florida. The jet filmed it, and I was like, yeah, I know exactly what that is, man. Yeah. But I'm surprised the government's never asked me about it, And I heard you guys talking earlier. The thing is, after I seen the big UFO and I've got the footage, I contacted several universities. Nobody's interested. I contacted every media. I contacted CNN. I contacted TNT. I contacted Fox News. Nobody wanted to cover my story. Nobody even got back with me. So back in the 40s, if you reported something like that, yeah, it would be a major story. But now I reported my UFO site, and they never even give me the courtesy call back. And that's the reason you don't hear a lot of this. You don't hear a lot of the new encounters like mine. You hear the old ones, because back then it was different. Newsmen back then were interested in stuff like that. Newsmen would take the time to cover it. And newsmen back then had a lot more credibility than the guys do now. Back then, if you didn't report the truth, man, you'd be fired. You'd be run out on a rail, So, I believe what the guys were writing back then. And Roswell, they're taking people out there right now. I'm going out to Roswell this year. I'll be at the Roswell UFO Festival. I was there 2 years ago, and there's an impact crater out there. And, and everybody's sitting there thinking, well, think about how fast that weather balloon was going when it hit the ground to make an impact crater. It wasn't a weather balloon, It's quite obvious.
You said a black box. Could you explain that to the audience a little bit better, what you mean? Was it a rectangular black box that was levitating in the air?
It was when they had me, they had put the thing over my bedroom of my house. They pulled me out of my sleeping body for a conversation. And then during the conversation, I asked them if they could show me where they came from, how they got here. And they instructed me to walk through the wall, because you could move through physical matter there. It's like you had a little mass, but you didn't have a whole lot of mass. You could sit on a bed and feel the softness of the bed, or you could walk through the bed like you're wading through a pond of water. And they showed me that we're safe from biological contamination here. We're safe from physical harm. And this is where the people of our world will eventually meet the people of their world who are demanding them to have a conversation with us.
Was this in your spiritual lessons? Would you call it that?
No, I am not. I am not a spiritual person. I am not a person who meditates. I do not astro travel.
When you were when you're out of your body, what would you call that? When you're out of your body, what physical or non-physical form were you involved in?
I looked. I had 2 hands. I had 2 arms. I mean, I looked at my hand, and I could see my hand, and I couldn't see through my hand like I was in a ghost state or nothing like that. I mean, I looked very physical, and I could feel softness, and I did not feel hot or cold. I felt perfectly comfortable. I didn't need to pee, or I didn't feel hunger. I felt perfectly good. I mean, I felt good, and I looked at the people I talked to. The aliens that I talked to, and I could see their characteristics, and one of them was holding hand. This leopard woman was holding hands with me, And I looked, and her hand felt weird. And at one point, I remembered, if this is a dream, I want to look, if this is a dream. They said, look, see if you won't have detail if it's a dream. So I looked at her hand, and I could see that she had pads on her hand, like a cat has on its foot, even in between her digits. But she had 4 fingers and a thumb, just like mine. But between the digits of her fingers, there was small pads, like on a cat's foot. Very odd.
Could you see your physical body in the bed?
Yes, I see. My body was still laying in the bed, and actually, when they pulled me out of it, I was like buried in my bed up to my knees, and I kind of freaked out because I looked down and I seen the bed, and I didn't see the bottom of my legs, and I kind of freaked out, like, oh my God, my legs are gone. The bottom of my legs are gone, and they waded me out of the bed, like wading out of a pond of water. They said, you're all right, And then they showed me that we can move through physical matter here, and they started apologizing for disrupting my rest and all this stuff. And they just needed to have a conversation. And the gist of the conversation was how to tell the people of our world about that the people of their world have been watching us and want to meet us, and how to go about doing that.
What name? Do they go by a name? Do they call themselves something?
No, they never. Not at any point did they ever tell me this one's name is whatever, and they didn't tell me the name of the worlds. They didn't use names. One of them was a genealogist that was with her. There was 2 different species of aliens. They weren't the same species of aliens. They certainly weren't gray aliens. There was one that was tall, and she had like blue skin, real short black hair. She had this ruby thing glued to her right cheek. She had like a diamond glued to the center of her forehead, and she had a tattoo on her left cheek. And the other one looked like you could see she had big hair, and you could see the tips of her cat ears sticking through it, and she looked like a woman. 2 legs, 2 arms, just like a woman, not a good-looking woman. And then when you look at her face, her eyes are human, but then her nose turns into a cat's nose. And she even had whiskers on her upper lips like a cat. So the tip of her mouth turned into like a cat's mouth. They talked with her. They talked English with their mouths. And because of the one that had the cat's mouth, she had a hard time making certain syllables when she spoke. And it was almost comical trying to watch her pronounce certain words. But when she had trouble making a word, she was smart enough that she would use a different word instead of repeating it, like people with a speech impediment do.
When your wife came in the room, she could see you talking or experience this with you, or did she just see you sleeping in bed?
No, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning when this all happened, so the sun was shining in around the windows. She came walking through the bedroom on her way to the bathroom, and when she came back from the bathroom, she stopped and she looked at us, and it freaked one of the ET out. And she said to the other ETs, can't she see us? Because she stopped and she looked our direction, but what she was looking at was my sleeping body there in bed.
But your wife couldn't see the ETs, right? Your wife could not see the ETs.
No, they said this is where we've been watching you from. Said she cannot see or hear us. Is what she said. She cannot see or hear us, and this is where we've been observing your world.
This is interesting. So the 2 ETs were female, correct?
Both of them, yes.
Interesting. And they were 2 different types.
There were 2 different species. One was like a leopard woman, and I mean, at one point, the story it's a pretty lengthy story, but anyway, she had a big tail. And then she had stripes on her body, and I drew some sketches of what she looked like, and I drew some, and the tall blue one, I actually got a picture of that one in a UFO encounter in Coleman. The disc approached me, and I went into hiding, and from my hiding spot, I leaned around this oil field separator, and I took a picture of the craft with the compartment underneath it lit up on the inside, and this is the same ET that is standing in the opening. And I took the picture like back in 2011, and I actually met her in August of 2017. So this is the same one, the tall blue one. And I think she's probably the pilot of the craft.
Wow. on